welcome to the Elevated Limits podcast show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Elevated Limits podcast. Today we have a special guest in the building. You know, this individual was drafted by the New York Giants in the 4th round in the 2014 draft. He played at Boston College, where he was a finalist for the 2013 Heisman Trophy. He won the Doak Walker Award as the nation's best running back. Man, I used to watch this guy's highlights my junior year of high school before I was getting ready for a game. So I'm really, really excited to have this guest on today. But not only was he a great football player, but he's a husband, he's a father, he's a business owner, and last but not least, he is a Christ follower. So I'm excited to get to know more about him. Today we have Andre Williams. My dog! What's up, man? How we doing?
I'm good, Rob. How you doing,
good.
Man? Can I press that?
Yeah, press that button, bro. Get closer to the mic, though, so they can hear you. Get closer.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, should I be speaking into the mic too? It's my first time on the podcast.
Let's
this
get
is
it.
Cool.
How you feeling today, bro? How's everything?
I feel great, man. I can't complain. It's a little bit weird today. We had an earthquake.
What?
Yeah.
Bro, you felt that?
I didn't feel it. I was in the kitchen. I was frying up some plantains, and my wife was like, you feel the house shaking? And I'm like, nah, I don't. And I just went back to the kitchen, and then and I'm sitting there flipping the stuff, and I'm like, man, I wonder if she's doing all right in there.
You was like, your wife, you dripping right now. What's going on?
But then she was like, yo, look at your phone. It was a 4.8 earthquake in Jersey, and it was like a 1.5 over here. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wild,
well,
bro.
I'm glad she's all right.
It's wild. I was in a staff meeting before I got here, bro, and this guy's presenting something. The whole building's shaking, but we're all just acting like I thought I was just tripping. I'm like, this is probably like the train is outside, someone's moving something above us.
Yeah.
And then I get a text, like people are texting me like, did you feel that? Did you feel that? I was like, oh, wow. We just experienced that. It's always a weird thing, bro. Last one I felt, it was like, I think like 10 years ago. So really? It's always like a weird thing. Like you don't really notice it's happening until after. You know what I mean?
It's not a normal thing that happens over here all the time.
That's a fact.
So.
That is a fact, bro. So where I want to take this conversation, Andre, is like I told you, I was like contemplating. I'm like, yo, what should we talk about? Like, I was like, I want to talk about everything. I want to talk about football. I want to talk about God. And you were like, let's talk about everything, bro. I'm open to talking about God. I'm open to talking about football. And it's funny because the first time I met you was at Life Church. You know, I introduced myself. I wanted to like formally introduce myself. I was like, wow, what are the chances that I just asked him to come on the podcast and I'm meeting him that Sunday? That was just like one of those things where I was like, this is funny. But I want you to talk about your upbringing and like what were the principles that your parents instilled in you as a kid, and was Christianity something that was introduced to you early on, or is it something that you picked up later in life?
Yeah, principles. When you said principles, the first thing I thought of was my dad, right? He, when I started dressing myself to go to school, you know, you get to put on your own clothes, pick out your own outfit, and I put on some pants, and I'm like, Dad, I'm ready for school, and he's like, Dre, you got on a belt? And I'm like, nah, I don't got on a belt. He's like, you ain't got on no belt, you might as not well be wearing no pants at all. So that it might seem like a little thing, but to me, when he told me that, I was like, oh, well, I guess he's right. I guess I need to go put on the belt. And what that effect that had on me was I missed the trend of, you know, like saggy pants and all of that. Like that was never me. So, you know, the way that your parents raise you in the house, the things that they say to you, the time that they spend with you, it really sticks with you and it really shapes the way that you grow up.
100%.
And you know, as far as Christianity, I definitely grew up in a church setting. My mom was the big Christian anchor in the house. My dad, not so much. You know, but she did take us to church on Sundays, and you know, I still had to, you know, nobody can take you to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You have to go on your own journey. You have to walk towards Him yourself. People can plant a seed, and the Holy Spirit will water it. But you know, I always say that there are a few kinds of people in the world. There's like three kinds of people. There's people that they deny the spirit. They think that we're just animals, we're just flesh and blood, and
Right.
that's all there is. And then you have the next person that believes that there is some kind of higher power, and that's as far as they go. They're in the middling stage where they believe that there is something more, but they're not necessarily trying to figure out what that more is.
Right.
Then you have this intermediary stage, which is stage 3, which is where you believe that God exists, and you go and you try to find God.
Amen.
And the cool thing about God is he is not hiding from anybody. He's always been here. He's here right now.
Amen.
And if you seek him, you're going to find him. But then once you find him now, then you get to the point where it's like, all right, I see you, God. I hear you, God. But am I listening? Am I going to listen to what you're telling me? Because it's hard.
Amen. Yeah.
So then, you got to jump in the pool, or you going to stay out, And if you jump in the pool, then now you're in that stage 4, which is, all right, now I hear God, I'm listening to God, and I'm trying to do what he says every day, completely different way of life. But I once you get in the pool and you see who's in the water, and you see what people are able to do, people walking in power, people have seen things that you don't see when you walking in the flesh.
Right.
Because
Amen.
they walking in the spirit.
Amen.
And there's Jesus was on the earth. He did some things. He showed us what it means to be human.
Yep.
And humans got dominion over the earth, and that's a heavy thing to process and to understand. But
Talk to me a little bit about that journey. Then you said so. Your mom she was the anchor you mentioned, right? And she kind of started you guys on this path. But like you said, I feel like everyone has to kind of go on their own journey and find Christ themselves. So what was that journey like for you, and what was like that defining point where things started to really shift for you? Take your drink. I know. It's a lot. Go ahead. I'm gonna sip some water too.
Look, man. So my mom planted a seed, and that seed, it fell on. I don't know if it was the seed or if it was the ground, but it took a while for the plant to grow. You know what I'm saying? And I was in the world like everybody else. We still in the world. We just not of the world.
Of the world. You were living by the flesh though at one point in your life.
100%. I went to college. I seen all the types of stuff that goes on in college, man. What's the rating of your podcast? Is this like PG-13 or how what do you call it?
We still trying to figure that out, Andre. I ain't even gonna lie. The majority of our audience though is that like 18 to 35. Majority.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not gonna say I think we're in that adult kind of just don't curse or anything like that.
Nah, I don't.
But you gotta keep it.
Cuss, but
I do want you to keep it real though, because I think
keep it real. That's
because
why I said
right because I feel like that's something that we don't do as Christ followers. I think it's too. I don't want to say across the whole board, but a lot of it is superficial. You know what I mean? Like we don't really have the opportunity to really speak upon things and just be real of who you were pre-Christ, what the transition period was like, and now how God has changed your life, and you being able to speak about it. And you don't have to go into the crazy details, but you being able to talk about the past and what it was like for you pre-Christ kind of shows people the transformation that God has done within you. You know what I mean? So
this is the thing is I finished writing my book last year in December. I wrote a book, and I edited the manuscript, finished it last month. So I have a stack of papers that will be, paperback, hardcover book at some point, digital, audio book, all of that. I'm in that process right now. And this book is, it's called The King, a Queen, and a Conscience. And it's a football story, but it's a life story. I call it a philosophical memoir. And I'm being completely open and honest and vulnerable about everything that went down in my life, you know? So
Amen.
when I wrote the book, it was it was hard, you know, to go back over certain times, and it was hard to put it on paper like, yo, you gonna let people read this?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But now that I actually wrote it, I just assume that everybody has read it. So I will say anything. You know, that's why I just wanted to ask before we really go into it. But I mean, yeah, man, I went to school at Boston College, and Boston College ain't no real crazy party school or nothing. There is no fraternities or anything like
Right.
that.
But
But
let's keep it real, bro.
you don't
Andre
need all of that.
Andre Williams, senior year, rushing over 2,000 yards. You are a certain caliber of person at that stage in your life. You still are a certain caliber of person, but like people are coming up to you. You're famous on campus. You have access to things that most people don't have access to. How are you dealing with that in your life at that moment?
I was running from it. Um, that senior year was it was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I went from Andre to Mr. Williams, the man horse. You know, like people were treating me different. You know, going to class. If I stood around too long in the lunchroom, you know, people would start forming a crowd around me. And if it was late at night and people was drinking, then like it was getting a little too. So I
Right.
was like, man, I'm gonna stop spending time on campus. I started spending time off campus, and my roommates had all got kicked off of campus because they they uh they had this girl that they met it was a freshman girl, and they ended up running a train on this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And what they didn't know was that her daddy was a professor at the school.
Wow.
And he found out about this. And he raised hell trying to get them kicked out.
Wow.
And it went as far as they got kicked off campus. They didn't get kicked out of school, but um, you know, it was just me and my
Yeah.
other I had another teammate, Alex Amadon, and he was actually training to be uh, a Marine or a Navy SEAL. It was one of the two. So he was spending a lot of time in the pool. He had a girlfriend at the time as well. So I didn't see much of him, and I was like, man, I'm gonna figure out how to spend time off campus. But yeah, there was a lot going on. I always say, you know, the things that come to you,
Mm-hmm.
you put out there for them to come to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like social media. My social media algorithm is popping right now. Like I get all the good stuff
Yep.
because I look for the good stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
when I was that senior year, even though I did have access to a lot of stuff, I wasn't really looking for that. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to go to the league.
Mm.
I was trying to get my degree. I actually I set myself up freshman year to graduate a semester early so that if I did end up going to the league, I wouldn't have to leave without getting my degree.
Right.
So I graduated a semester early with a education degree. It was applied psychology and human development, and that was like pretty much one of the only degrees that you could graduate early with from that school. So it ended up working out how I planned it, and I left as soon as that senior year was over. I actually missed my graduation because I was in Florida for the college football awards when I had won that Doak Walker, and then we
Mm-hmm.
flew out to New York that same night, and we did the Heisman thing. So life just started moving super fast, super fast. Um, I didn't
0 to 100 real quick, bro.
real quick, real quick. But we were talking about my journey, man. So
Yeah.
like when I was in school, even though you know that seed was planted, I was not pursuing God.
Mm-hmm.
I was just focused on what I was focused on. You know, hanging out with friends. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was doing whatever I wanted to do, and I really did not have my moment until later on in life. You know, when you are introduced to God, he's there and you thinking about him, but I was not pursuing him. But I had an incident happen to me in uh, December. It was Christmas time of 2021. So this is it's almost it was a couple Christmases ago,
Mm-hmm.
almost
3 years
3 years
ago.
ago. Yeah. And so at the time, I had just opened up my store at the Promenade, my first retail store for my clothing company, jean shop. And it was almost Christmas. I told you that I was into the weed a lot, right?
Yep.
And because I was in the store, I was chronic smoker. I wasn't like chain smoking or nothing, but I would smoke probably like once a day, you know? And because I was in the store though, I couldn't smoke like that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't gonna post up in front of the store and burn
Right,
a
I
blunt,
get it.
smoke a bowl. You know what I'm saying? But I and I didn't have a back door either.
Right.
So I would just I was like, oh, well, let me do something different. You know those little vape pens.
Yep.
I had one of those little vape pens, and this wasn't even, it didn't even have the cannabis in it. It was like just like one of those tobacco ones. I don't even know where I got it, but just something to do. And so I think it was probably about a week before Christmas now, and I was smoking this vape pen in the store before the store opened, and I started developing a cough. You know, I had a little bit. It was normal for that time of year. I had a little cough, but now the cough was coming up with some phlegm, and this first time I coughed up a little bit of phlegm, and it was pink, and I'm like, oh snap, that's not good. I'm like, maybe that's just a one-off. It's whatever. Maybe it's blood, you know, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm all right. Kept going with the vape pen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The cough got a little bit worse, and that pink was still there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, I'm coughing up bloody phlegm. Something's wrong. It's not good, you know? Then that day in the store, I started to just really not feel good. I wasn't feeling good. And if you recall, 2021, December 2021, that was when coronavirus was still a thing. Don't know what
Yep.
happened to coronavirus now. It's all of a sudden it's gone. But that was the Omicron strain, super virulent,
Yep.
whatever. And I'm like, all right, so I'm not feeling good. And I had caught coronavirus like early on when it first came over from wherever it came over from, supposedly. And I was in Houston at the time when I first caught it. And this was a crazy story too. I was playing in the XFL with the Houston Roughnecks, and we was busting everybody. We was 5-0 before coronavirus shut the league down. But the story was a week before, the center from the Seattle Seahawks or Sea Dragons had came down with coronavirus, and it was a big joke at the time. Like, oh man, we all gonna catch coronavirus. We was all laughing about it, and you know why we was laughing about it? Because President Trump was laughing about it. He was making a joke about
right.
it, and so we were making a joke about it. And so they came over, they flew over, they brought coronavirus over, and they got everybody. You know, my son got sick first, but he was just, you know, kind of lethargic for a day, wasn't eating. He was fine. Then I got sick. Then my wife got sick. And then the NBA shut down.
Right.
And then everything shut down.
Real. It got real.
And they disbanded that thing so fast. And people were sick, but they just, I don't know. I guess for liability reasons, there's like, yeah, everybody just go home. Everybody's fine.
Right.
But we was like on quarantine in the hotel until everybody was feeling better. But you know, my wife, you know, her chest was messed up, man. It was kind of scary. But you know, we got over it, made it home, and we came back here. That's how we ended up back here.
So you were telling me about when you were at that point where you were at the promenades and you were struggling with weed and all that stuff.
Look, man, I'm getting to
Yeah.
it. It gets because this is my conversion moment.
Mm.
So I started feeling really bad that day. Like, I can't stay here no more. It was probably about 3, 4 o'clock. I'm like, I gotta go home. So I went home and I had lost my appetite, man. This was the first day. Lost my appetite, and later that night I got a fever. I just started getting these rolling fevers. There was no real other symptoms. There wasn't the first. There was no like runny nose or nothing like that. It was the coughing up the bloody phlegm and the rolling fevers and the loss of appetite. That's what was going on with me. And it's day 2 it happened, to where I'm like, man, I really cannot eat anything.
Wow.
Couldn't eat. Not a pancake I couldn't keep. I couldn't eat, just nothing. And I'm Jamaican, so when I get sick, the first thing I run to is the honey garlic. I got some honey and a lemon and some ginger and some garlic, and you mince it all up, you put it in the honey, and you let that thing sit, and was taking that, I was putting it in the tea, and just that's all I could really take was just, some honey garlic in the tea. And I couldn't. This went on for like 7 days, On a normal day, like right now, if something was to go down and there was somebody crazy running around out there, you don't even got to say a word. I'm going to go handle it because I know I'm not going to die today. That's
Right.
really how I feel. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I got the hand of God on me. I'm not going to die today. I'm going to go handle it before somebody is going to threaten me and my kids and my family. I'm going to go take care of it. We on the plane, and I'm on the plane with you. You don't even got to say nothing to me. I'm going to knock his block off, bro. For real. I know that about myself.
Yeah.
But on this day, this was day 8 now, I felt my mortality, yo.
Wow.
I felt like, yo, am I really like, because people was dying at the time, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
People still dying. I felt like, man, am I going to be the one to get taken out by coronavirus or whatever the heck this thing is? Because I know it's like, my mind is just racing over, well, I got this chest illness and I know the coronavirus, if you have a chest problem and you get sick, that's really when it's the most dangerous. And I'm like, man, I really might be like, that's going to be such a win for the coronavirus people that like, look at this strong athlete get taken out by coronavirus. It can get anybody.
I get what you're saying.
So I was really freaking out a little bit, but I was in the house with my family. I'm saying my wife, my 2 kids was with me for Christmas. I don't have my oldest son all the time, but he was right there. And they didn't really understand how sick I was, but I knew how sick I was, yo. I hadn't eaten for like 8 days now.
That's wild.
So, then it comes to day 9, and I remembered something. You know about that app Reddit?
Yeah.
So Reddit is a little bit like Twitter. Twitter, they call it X now. Twitter
Right.
is like really like triple X. Twitter, it's got all the crazy pornos and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild on Twitter, but Reddit is like that too. I didn't know that. But then when I found Reddit got a special feature. Reddit special feature is there's like a little secret folder that you could go save all of your favorite little articles and videos in. So I had usually, you watch the porno and then you're like, man, I feel kind of bad. Let me go ahead and just stop this and go do something else, right? Never would like save the video or nothing. I don't want to get caught up with some crazy video on my phone. But now I got a secret folder in my Reddit thing. So I was like, well, you know what? I kind of like this video. I'm going to come back to this later, put it in the folder. So I'm walking around with this open mark of death, mark of rebellion on me. It's on my phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking about it, feeling like I'm getting closer to the other side. And I'm like, man, I wonder if I'm sick because I'm carrying this crazy stuff on my phone. And maybe that's not really the whole reason. But if I do end up passing, do I want to pass with this on my phone? If I come to the gates of hell or to the gates of heaven, whichever gate I end up at, is this my ticket to the other side? Do I really want to show up in front of Jesus with my phone looking like this? And I'm like, you know what? I gotta turn around. I gotta repent. I gotta stop this. This is crazy. Like life just got very like short and real for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And people that they get close to death or they on their deathbed, you always hear that like they are, they looking back and wondering if there was something they could have did different. And so for me, I was like, man, let me go ahead and go get on my knees and ask God for the forgiveness and delete this and just ask him if it's in his will that I could just make it past this situation and I ain't never gonna be messing with this again because I don't want to end up in this situation again, you know? And so that was day 9. Day 10 came, same sickness. And by this time, these rolling fevers, right? Every time the fever rock you and you sweat out your clothes and, you got headaches and I was losing weight. I probably had lost like 15 pounds. I hadn't eaten in like 9 days.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
it's
saying?
crazy.
Just drinking tea. So every time the fever come, it like knock you down. You know what I'm saying? So I was weak, man. Day 10. And it was about 7 o'clock now. And I felt the fever coming on again. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, let me just go, it's getting cold. Let me go put on a hoodie and go just lay down and sleep off this fever. So I put the hoodie on, start walking toward my bed. And bro, I'm looking at my bed and there is something on the bed. If this is the bed right here, there's something in the middle of the bed right here. It's almost like you could see a depression, like it's something that's just sitting on the bed. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's my only bed and I need to go lay down right now. So I went and laid down in the bed, closed my eyes, and I fell asleep. And when I entered this fever dream, it was a dark room. It was like a pitch black room. And it's like I'm coming down into this room, just floating down into this black room. And there's something standing in the center of the room. And it's light coming off it, but it looks like a man in a black cloak. And as I approached the man in the black cloak, I realized how big this man is. He's a giant. He is towering over me. And I float down till I'm right in front of him. This man had a sickle in his hand. He had a sickle in his hand. And as soon as I stopped there in front of him, he took the sickle and he swung it at my neck.
Wow.
He swung it at my neck and I felt the thing whoosh, hit my neck. It shattered on my neck. It shattered on my neck. And then he spoke to me and he said 3 things. First thing he said was, it's better for you to die than for you to corrupt your family by showing them your lack of self-discipline.
Wow.
And the second thing he said was, your relationship with your wife is your relationship with God. That's marriage. Stop treating the 2 relationships as if they're different. And the third thing he said was, if it's not the flower, then it's crack. And then he kind of like just backed up a little bit, and he disappeared into the darkness. And I woke up. And you know how I know that this was more than a dream? Because when I woke up, I couldn't see anything. Everything was blurry, super blurry. My wife was sitting there on the edge of the bed. I'm like right where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not see her. Like, I could just see blurry colors. And I'm like, oh, man. And she was talking, and it sounded like she was talking like this. I couldn't hear her.
Wow.
And I'm just not knowing what's going on and just freaking out. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, trying to steady myself, because I'm like, man, I'm really messed up right now, really sick. And if I pass out right now, they're going to have to take me to the hospital. I don't know if I'm going to wake up if I pass out right now.
Right.
And something just said, just take your hoodie off. I took the hoodie off, and as soon as I took it off, I just started sweating crazy, just sweat pouring out my body. It was going on for like 2 minutes, and I was just sitting in a pool of sweat. And as I stopped sweating and started feeling a little bit more normal, my vision came back, my hearing came back, and I was like, oh my goodness, thank God. And I just know that I seen the angel of death in my dream, yo.
Mm-hmm.
That was the angel of death in my dream. And I would never forget what he told me. I'll never forget that feeling of being paralyzed in front of something that is beyond human comprehension.
Right.
And just thinking like, yo, if I would not have got on my knees and repented the day before, I bet you that I would have lost my head.
Right.
I would have not woke up. I would have died there in my bed in front of my whole family.
Wow.
So, after day 10, I started to recover. By day 14, I was pretty much good. And but I was so shook, I couldn't even tell my wife what had really went down with me. But I wrote about it in the book, and that really it shook me up, man. It turned me around.
That's what God would do, though. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
crazy.
I'm sorry that it had to be such a drastic thing. I wish I didn't have to go through that, but I had to go through that.
Right.
But,
Yeah, that's wild, bro. That's a crazy story, bro. I'm like visualizing everything as you're telling it to me. How is that? So that's like that defining point. Kind of talk to me where you're at today, though. Like, how has that kind of shaped you into who you are today, and how has having Christ in your life helped you for the better?
Well, we call it a conscience, right? That's the Spirit of God.
Amen.
That's what it is, And calling it a conscience makes it easier to rationalize against it. I don't really, I heard that, but that's, I don't have to listen to that, but that's the Spirit of God. And after that situation that happened, I realized that, yo, you better start listening more closely to what the Spirit is telling you.
When you ignore it, bro, bad things happen. When you ignore that feeling in your stomach, those little nudges where he's like, nah, don't do it, and you go ahead and do it, you'll learn. You're gonna feel some pain.
Yeah.
From experience, I'm saying that. I'm sure you've experienced the same thing where you decided to not listen to that nudge, not listen to the warning signs God was trying to give you. And whew.
You will. We all have grace. You know
Amen.
what I'm saying? We got grace,
amen.
and we have mercy. And my friend, he defined those two things the best I ever heard it. Dominique Williams, one of my old teammates, and he said that grace is receiving is receiving the things that we don't deserve, and mercy is not receiving the things that we do deserve. And we have grace and we have mercy. So when we don't listen, it's not like God is gonna slap you on the back of the neck.
Right.
You know, he's gonna be like, all right, maybe next time, and you might go, catch a little bump or scrape because you didn't listen, but it could have been worse, you know. But when you are constantly, it's not just not listening to his nudging, right? But you walking around in rebellion, you carrying that mark of rebellion in your pocket, on your chest, in your mouth, wherever you decide to openly be in opposition to God. Oh, everything here that we see, it already happened for God. There is no yesterday or today. It's just the present. It's your whole life is like a fishbowl, He's seeing the whole thing at once. And I can't really comprehend what that really means, but he's outside of time.
Right.
So I say all of that to say, like, you could only do so much outside of what he has already ordained. But if you end up out of his will in the wrong place at the wrong time in rebellion, you could feel more than pain. You can feel death.
You get out of here, yup.
He'll get you. There's angels of death walking around out here, making sure that what God says goes. Because we're not here. This is not we're relational creatures. Everybody has a story going on. Everybody's supposed to be somewhere at a certain time receiving something from somebody. We're blessed so that we could bless others.
Amen.
But if we ain't being good stewards of our blessing and we do something to go mess up something that somebody ordained for somebody else, God ordained for somebody else, you might not be here tomorrow.
Right. Right.
So
right. That's right.
Since that situation, man, I started taking things a lot more serious, and listening. And God, he broke me from a lot of things. That addiction that I had to marijuana, it started as just something cool, it actually in college, man, if I needed to write a paper,
keep you locked in, keep you focused.
Some
people
it helps
that for
you
sure.
Get a totally different perspective on the issue, So that's and I got A's on every single paper in college except this one paper, but everything else was an A, and that's a strength of mine. I wasn't the best test taker because I didn't always have the time to study for the test, but the paper, I wrote them papers, and that I graduated with a 3.1 GPA because I was a strong paper writer. But after that, it became more of emotional. It helped me stay even keel emotionally while I was going through football. I was also going through this crazy, just was a toxic relationship with my my oldest son's mother. And then we went through this divorce that was longer than the toxic relationship and was twice as toxic. And I was burning trees because I needed to, I was trying to focus on what was going on. Life had not slowed down, and so
you feel like you were using that as like a coping mechanism?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Do you feel like, and this is just an open question, like when you're smoking to deal with your problems, do you feel like you're delaying the process of actually feeling those emotions so then you can get over it? Do you feel like that's putting on delay on it, or What do you feel like is happening as you're coping with it with weed?
It's pushing the. I can't even. You're not pushing the problem to the side. You are still dealing with you're still in the middle of the problem, you know.
Mhm.
But the most accurate sense that I could get from why marijuana was cool for me was because it's like you're in the house with a bunch of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you smoke, it's like, all right, there's so many people in this room. It's too many people. Let me just go ahead and walk upstairs, you know? And when I'm upstairs, it's just me up there. Still people in the house down there tearing everything up, but at least, you know, for these next couple hours, I could just be upstairs and, you know, even if I gotta talk to them people, it's like I'm yelling down the stairs to them. They ain't even in my space, you know? Just puts you in a different mental perspective where you really inside your own head, you know?
Right.
So it was a coping mechanism, and I got addicted to that coping mechanism.
Did it get to a point where you're like, all right, like I know the defining point was where God kind of, you know, you met the angel of death and all that stuff, but did it ever get to a point where you're like, before that even happened, where you're like, yo, this is kind of like slowing me down? Or was it ever just, oh no, I'm still cool, I'm still focused, I'm still productive? Did you ever have any issues, or were you that high because there's high functioning weed smokers, but then there are some people
high functioning weed smoker.
Yeah.
That was me to a T for sure, you know. And you feel like, you know, to function at a high level, I need to go get in the zone, but that's
man.
really
That's the
the
devil
case.
talking.
It's the devil, yo.
It's the devil talking, bro. I do want to talk a little bit about the NFL and how your experience was there too, bro.
Yeah.
You know, every kid. I did read something that it said in 8th grade you already knew you were going to play Division I football. Is that true? I read that on an article. You said that
I knew that I wanted to play Division I football, so I started setting goals. You know, I was like, by senior year, I want to be a certain weight. You know, I want to be 220, and so what am I gonna do now to make sure that I achieve that goal? Because I think I was like 160 at the time in 8th grade, 160 something. I'm like, I need to be 220. I'm gonna be a big back. And you know, I started eating, and my mom, you know, she cooked dinner every day. Chicken and rice tastes so nice. That was like 85% of the meals in the house.
You Caribbean,
you know?
bro. I get it. I'm Dominican, so bro, I can eat that every day, bro. No exaggeration. You can feed me that Monday through Sunday, bro. Every day, bro. I can eat that.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
That's why you look so swole, bro. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So then, okay, a lot of people see like the glitz and glamours. Like, you could talk about the glitz and glamours of what it was like playing in the NFL, and then, but I know there's also the business aspect of it. If you're getting traded, and there's this uncertainty. Kind of talk about both worlds and what that experience was like for you. But you did get to live, it's dope, bro. You got to live a childhood dream, bro. You got there. You did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to experience that, bro.
It was cool, man. So getting in there, I knew that I was, after senior year, like I was like, all right, look, I
College,
just
right?
won the college. Yeah, I won the Doak. I'm the best running back
in the
nation right now.
You ever seen that video? I'm the number one running back in the nation. You ever seen that? The both from Florida with the girls?
I didn't see
I'm number one in the
man.
nation. Stop playing with me, boy. No, go ahead, my fault.
Yeah, that was me. I was like, all right, I won the award. You know what I'm saying? I rushed for $2,000. I know I'm about to go. You know what I'm saying?
It's over.
And I didn't really care about where it was. I just wanted to get in. And then when you know, I was man, but the thing was, I did enough to get in, and I knew I was getting in, but in my mind, I'm like, man, my body is hurting. My shoulders was
dealing with the
tore
shoulder injury.
Yup. Bad. I actually I got invited to the Reese's Senior Bowl, And I dropped out of that joint because I'm like, man, I can't play no
Gotta
more
get
football
healed,
right
yeah.
now. I gotta heal up. And in hindsight, I probably wish I had more guidance from some older people, older athletes, or just some people that was in it. Because I mean, I had my agent, but he was like, "Yeah, well, if you want to bow out, you should talk to the commissioner and just tell him." But I probably should have just at least showed up and showed my face and shook hands and smiled
Get what you're
and
saying.
be professional rather than just bow out and say, "Nah, I can't." You should go if you get invited to those certain things. Um, but I bowed out of that, and I also I didn't do the bench press at the combine because I wasn't training for it. I wasn't gonna show up at the combine and bang out 4 reps.
Right. Shoulder cooked, yep.
I'm telling you, man, my shoulders was cooked. And so that hurt me. And I was projected to go out second or third round, and I ended up dropping to the fourth. But I still knew I was gonna go.
Right.
So we're coming up on day 3 of the combine, and I think that my family members had kind of lost hope a little bit that I was actually gonna get drafted. But I'm sitting there on the couch watching the draft with my girlfriend at the time, who ended up being the person I was in this toxic relationship with. But we were sitting there on the couch, and we come up to pick, I guess it was 113, I believe, and my phone started ringing, and it was Coach Coughlin on the line, and he's like, "Hey, is this Andre Williams?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Yeah, this is Coach Coughlin from the New York Giants, and we're about to pick your card. We want you to be part of the team. Are you ready to play some football?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "How are them shoulders doing?" I said, "They're good." He said, "All right, I'm going to give the phone to this other guy, and he's going to give you some more information. Congratulations." I was like, "Cool, man. I'm in. I made it." But at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I'm lying. My shoulders hurting.
Right. Yeah. Well, as he's talking to you, you're like, yo, I know this. I'm good, coach.
Yeah,
Mind you, feeling a sharp pain.
Yes,
Oh.
sir. I'm good, coach.
Right.
But it was, I had some months to heal up and everything, but the shoulders did end up giving me some issues, later on that season where my shoulders started, subluxing. It was popping. I would hit somebody with that thing,
man.
and it's coming like out the socket real quick, and my whole arm is dead.
Wow.
So it did end up, it felt better, and then it got worse because I was still banging.
That was your running style, though. You was trying to run through people, bro.
That was my running style. That's what got me there.
Facts.
Was running through people, and I was still doing it.
Facts.
At that high level. So that's what made people say, "Wow," and I ended up figuring out how to fix it, and that's another crazy story. But there was a lot of pressure when you're thinking about your body. And then on the other side of it now is, all right, I'm no longer at Boston College. At BC, I accounted for 51% of the offense, just running the ball.
That's wild,
You know what I'm saying?
bro. That's a wild stat.
Power, counter, play action. And I don't know how many different ways that you could slice them things up, but that was the whole playbook. We had power about 10 different ways, counter about 10 different ways. We had a little bit of inside zone we used to throw in there, but we was the best power football team in football.
Right.
We was running on everybody, and we didn't win every game, but I put up 150 on Florida State, and they won a national championship that year. You know what I'm saying? So we was running, and but now when I get to New York, I have to fit in that system. I'm not the system anymore, and And thank God Coach Coughlin was there that first year. And that's the thing about the league is every organization is totally different. Some of them is focused on winning right now, and some of them are focused on player development. Coach Coughlin understands player development, but the organization as a whole, they was really trying to squeeze another ring out of Coach Coughlin. And when he didn't give him that ring after that first season, they're like, all right, something got to change. And they pulled the wrong Jenga piece out of that tower. And that tower been swaying back and forth ever since, man. They didn't figure it out yet. They still in the bush right now. And I can't begin to describe to you just I'll just say that I'm disappointed in that team, man. How you draft a generational talent, once in a generation talent in Saquon Barkley.
Facts.
First round pick. Now, let's look back and see how many first round picks the Giants done had. Great players, and they don't know how to utilize them, or they don't hold on to them. They don't build around them. They let them go,
right?
And those picks go and get a ring with somebody else. You got just a couple people I played with. I came in with Odell. He was the first round pick that year. I was the fourth round pick. He got his ring with the Ravens or with the Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
JPP went and got his ring with the Buccaneers. I know there's a handful more of them. Know what I'm saying? Like they keep repeating the same thing. And the way that they did Saquon, man,
it did them dirty, bro. The whole running back market right now is just getting done dirty. They're not valuing, like, they don't value the position like how they once did, and it's not right.
It depends on the organization, though.
That's true.
It depends on the organization. Yo, look at the San Francisco. San Francisco, they like, I love watching that team play,
right?
Because they play old school football. They the most,
bro. He's snapping.
You can't say nothing negative about that man. But the way that they use their running back, tight end, receivers. You got Debo playing in all. He's playing in the backfield. You can't figure out what they about to do.
Right.
And I feel like maybe they had a couple injuries. Their big tight end, I know he was a little bit banged up at the end of the season, but that's the most versatile offense in the league. And you have to have that to keep the league honest, because they keep trying to say, oh, it's a passing league, it's a passing league.
Nah, bro.
It is what you make it.
Facts.
Yo, it's like karate, yo. You can't say that the Wing Chun is better than the Taekwondo, or it's better than the whatever. It just matters how clean and how far you're willing to go down this one path. You can sharpen as much as you want to, and you can cut through anything. So I love to see how versatile that offense is, how they utilize the fullback, tight end, and the running back, and they kill people with it, you know. But, hey, I guess I'm biased because I'm a running back. But, hey, look, I think that we are the most versatile position on the field.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I think Saquon says something along the lines of there are receivers. He didn't want to single anybody out, of course. He didn't want to disrespect nobody. But there are receivers that have 500 receiving yards that are getting a bigger bag than the running backs. And it's like, even from a productivity standpoint, like, running backs are more productive, putting up more yards, and still getting you know what I mean? They're still getting less money, which is crazy. It's crazy, bro. We could probably talk about that for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I did play running back too. I ain't go to the league, bro. I had the dreams, but you know what I'm saying? I played running back too, so I feel for that. There is a question I want to ask you, bro. I want to get to this question because I feel like it's a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and maybe you struggle with, or maybe you haven't. But I feel like a lot of the times as men, we attach our identities to what we do. Right, we look at ourselves and say, "I'm a football player. This is all I can do." Did you struggle with that during your transition period of kind of like exiting the game? Because this is a game you played your whole life. This is
Yeah.
who you are, I'm Andre Williams. People know me for playing football.
Mhm.
Is that something you struggled with, and how are you able to make that transition to let the game go? And how was that process for you?
Well, I feel that 100%. You know, we tend to attach our identities to the things that we do. Um, for me, I was going through so much at the time. There was really no choice but for me to let the game go.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's a whole conversation because I told you I was in this crazy relationship
Mm-hmm.
and I uh I had a child with this person. And it's funny, you know, like that's why I wrote the book, because it's too much to just talk about in one
Right.
sitting, right? But it's like everybody kind of assumes that in a relationship with the man and the woman, if there is some kind of thing going on, if there's some aggression going on, that is automatically going to be coming from the male side. But these females be the aggressors at sometimes too. You know what I'm saying? And I when I had my kid, right, and I became a father, it changed me in a way to where, yes, I'm a football player, but now I understand that football is not my legacy. It is and it isn't. Like I'm an athlete, and that's just in my blood. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? But your legacy is what you leave here.
Facts.
And when I had my son and he popped out the womb and I seen that long watermelon shaped head, I'm like, yo, that's me. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's me, then that means I'm a version of my father. So that means that my last name is actually more important than my first name,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm continuing something. He's the next Williams. He's me, but I'm him and he's the other guy.
Right.
So
Gets passed down.
we just pushing ourselves out a little bit further into the future when we have kids. And that is the legacy. You know what I'm saying? What am I doing? What kind of foundation am I building for him to stand on so that he could lay the foundation for the next? And so that kind of like put things into perspective for me, to where I was like, all right, this game is important, but this relationship that I have with my son is more important. And so I was going through some things with my wife at the time where uh Baron was kind of like it was like he was being used as a pawn to get what I want. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's being used to play with my emotions because I'm a good father. I know you care about this child, but you know what? If we ain't gonna work out, it's you about to go through some hell for this, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I'm gonna use this situation that we got a kid together. Hey, look, I'm gonna do whatever I could do. And it was I don't really want to get into that too much,
Mm-hmm.
but the question that you asked was, how were you able to transition out, being that your identity was football player? But my identity became more than a football player. It became a father,
Mm.
and I was a father navigating a situation where I was going to make sure that my son knew who I was.
Yeah.
I was going to make sure that I spent the time with my son that I wanted to spend with my son, and I didn't care what the cost was, you know? And it ended up costing me the game to a certain degree.
Wow.
There was a point where I ended up getting cut from the Giants, and um, I'm gonna save the goodies for the book because I did write this book. You know what I'm saying? But the day that I got cut from the Giants was a crazy day, and we'll just leave it at that. But I ended up getting picked up by. They're now the LA Chargers, but this was their last year as the San Diego Chargers. So got picked up by San Diego, and I just, it's like I flew out the next day, you know. And so that was kind of a situation where, because of what was going on in the relationship, we had gotten so crazy to the point where, it got violent.
Sheesh.
And so I wasn't gonna bring that. It was the hand of God. He picked me up and he took me as far away from the situation as I could. How much further could I have gone in San Diego?
That's the furthest you can go, bro.
Without being in the water, right? So I knew that was God's move. When I got cut, I'm like, man, what is going on? How why?
Right.
You know? But I knew why, when I ended up in San Diego, like, all right, I know I'm not supposed to be in this situation no more. So let me go ahead and find my way out, because this wasn't, and I'm not going to have this going on in front of my son. So I made my mind up at that point, and God helped me out by, helping me move out of that situation. And, at a certain point though, for the off season, there's something called OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be, it's preseason.
Right.
And I was flying back and forth every other week to spend my time with my son in Jersey, and that hurt me to a certain degree. Like, yeah, you just got out here on this team, you fighting for time with Melvin Gordon, but you choosing to go spend time with your son. Do you really care about this game like you say you do? I ended up losing out that second position to Austin Eckler. So, I made decisions that I don't regret. If I had to do it again, I would do it again. But I stopped focusing so hard on what I was really supposed to be focusing on. If I could press the reset button, I would have done it differently. But if I had to do it again, I would. If I just had to do it again, I'd do it again.
Right.
But if I could really press the reset, do it differently, yeah, I probably would. I'm saying, but then, it is what it is. We go through the things that we got to grow through. And I don't have no regrets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I feel good about all the decisions that I made, because I never hurt nobody. And guess what? Mission accomplished, because Barron knows who his dad is.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel good about that.
Amen. Bro, and also you're going to be able to speak to that next generation of kids coming up in the league, and you, like, kids from this area. There's not too many people. There's a Saquon. It rarely happens. And bro, you're special. You've been able to experience things that most people will never experience, right? So for you to come back, and I saw that you were on a college tour with Generation Next, right? That nonprofit organization. Just you doing things like that and being able to speak to that next generation. We go through things. We get afflicted sometimes, so we could be a blessing to others and help them on their journey, right? So respect you for that, bro.
I appreciate that.
I want to ask you one more question, because we only do these for an hour, but like this podcast alone, I already know could be 3 hours. I know we could just keep going, bro. I could feel it.
Yeah.
When we put the game down, there needs to be something to fill that void. There needs to be something that, like, ignites you the same way the game did, the same way your stomach used to feel, when you were walking on that field. Do you feel like you found that with your businesses that you've been developing, or is that something that you're still like looking for since you put the cleats away?
Nah, I found it, man. I'm an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? But I'm also an athlete. I say that I am a retired player, but I'm a current athlete. I'm saying, if somebody called me up right now, I could go play in the game. I really could because I keep myself like that.
Right, you stay
You know what I'm
ready.
saying? I stay ready. Not like I'm ready to play, but I'm in shape. Maybe
Right.
my
Bro,
skills is a little bit rusty, but yo, I'm as far as fitness goes,
Right.
I'm fit, and I'm probably more fit now than I was years ago,
That's
10 years
crazy.
ago when I was playing ball. And that's just because, apart from uh, business, fitness is like I really care about it,
Mm-hmm.
and not just for myself, but for other people. And people always ask me about, would you ever coach? Would you ever coach? And I'm like, no, not right now. Like that's too much time. Like
Right.
the player himself got to be in the game, but the coaches,
It's next level.
that's beyond. I can't do that right now,
Right.
man.
Right. I get it.
But fitness though, training people, I do love to do that, and that's but from the business standpoint, you know what I'm saying? So what I realized about myself is it don't have to be football. I just love to compete.
Facts.
You know?
Now you talking.
So if we were to bust out a chessboard right now, my palms is gonna get a little bit sweaty because I
Right.
want to compete.
Right.
And so it could be any kind of form of competition. Business in and of itself is a competition.
Facts.
I met somebody when I was playing ball. I had an agent at the time. His name was Luke. And Luke, I was trying to figure out a way to not play so much PlayStation, stop wasting my time playing PlayStation.
Mhm.
And so I had was built a fragrance lab in my townhouse actually, and I was making soaps and different kind of fragrances. It was a fragrance lab. And so Luke came over, he seen what I was doing. He's like, "Hey man, why don't we go to the city? I got a friend named Eamon, and you should sit down with him. He got an office in a WeWork building." And I went and sat down with Eamon, and Eamon was like, "Hey man, you're a running back in the NFL. How would you like to create a signature shoe? I got this factory out in Spain where they're cranking out the Balenciaga arenas, and I got this old designer from Nike. I could extend my creative faculties to you. You can make something. I got my shoe company, and maybe we could work together and, release together, run together a little bit." So I was like, that sounds cool, man. I'm over here making, amateur stuff in the lab. Like, let's go make a real luxury product. And so it was pay to play. I put the money down and I made the shoe. These shoes that I'll be wearing these all the time. I painted these. These was on a commercial I did with QuickBooks, but this is the
Oh, wow.
Running Man. It's a low top leather shoe in that classic silhouette. And that was my first project. And, fell in love with that process of making, taking an idea, turning it into a product. And so the journey from, creation to product, I went through it, learned about it, and it opened up doors to me where I started meeting a lot of different people. I ended up meeting this brand developer. I call him Roy the Maker. And Roy was like, "Man, so you made that shoe?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Why did you make it?" And I said, "Because it was cool." And he was like, "Yeah, it's cool, very nice, but how you gonna sell it?" And I said, "Well, I didn't get that far yet. I'm just making cool right now." And I'm working with Eamon, and we figuring out the marketing part. And he's like, "All right." So we ended up having this 3-hour conversation though, where he just blew my mind because all of the information that he was giving me for free, I paid for it over the course of 6 to 8 months making that shoe, the Running Man shoe. And so I couldn't sleep that night because he had just got my mind spinning about different possibilities. He qualified himself as somebody that could take me to the next level in terms of making product. And then so I'm like, all right, well, instead of making cool, what could I make that the market is missing? What does it need? Because it doesn't need another shoe. And I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I can't wear jeans because I'm always ripping my pants. I got running back thighs.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, there's no real true athletic fit, at least not that I found. And so when I told Roy about this, he said, "Now you're onto something. That's a niche that you could really fit well into as a professional athlete and grow out of and build a real company. But don't just make any jeans. Go get the best possible fabric so that you could make the best possible product and compete with the best people in the market." And when he said that, that sparked my brain on fire. Like, I want to compete with the best. I want to figure out how to do it, you know? So I took my signing bonus. I took like $200,000 and I rolled the dice. That was the biggest dice roll that I ever made. And I've been on this journey now for about 7 years. You know what I'm saying? And going through the ups and downs with everything that was going on, playing football and personal and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, opening up the stores, going through coronavirus and, you know, losing out on my distribution deals because the virus shut the world down and all types of crazy stuff. But it's been a journey of learning. I've been learning so much and getting so sharp at what I'm doing that now, you know, I'm in the e-com world. And yo, as soon as I get up, it is a struggle to say, let me open up this Bible and just get into the Word of God before I really let my brain go crazy on what I'm supposed to be doing on this computer. You know, it is exciting to me, but I'm also just an entrepreneur in general. I love the fitness too. And I'm in the process of partnering with Sports Factory. You know Sports Factory?
I never heard none.
So it's a training facility in Allentown on Rupsville Road.
Okay.
And I know the owner over there. There's 3 owners, and I'm real good friends right now with the guy, Chris Tripp. And so we are in the process of creating a partnership where I'm going to be creating a program for college-bound athletes. Don't have to be football. It's all sports, right? But I want to take the best or the people that want it the most and make them into the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're talking about training. We're talking about mentorship. We're talking about everything in between those 2 things, you know? When you get to college, what is it going to be like? What you supposed to be watching out for? How are you supposed to be eating? What does it mean to be fit? How do you become fit? What does fitness really mean? You know what I'm saying?
I might have to holler at you, bro. I'm starting a college prep program with St. Luke's. I would love for you to come and speak one day and just talk about your experiences and what should they expect walking on campus day one, bro. I feel like that would be, you know what I mean?
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Awesome, bro. I appreciate you coming on, bro. Again, like I said, I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, bro.
100%.
You know what I mean? But I appreciate you. I hope you guys took away some gems from this episode, man. And it was cool because the majority of our conversation wasn't even about football, bro. I just got to see who Andre Williams was as a person. So appreciate you coming, dog.
Appreciate you having me, Rob. Thank you.
Shout your book out real quick before we get off.
It's a King or Queen in the Conscience coming soon, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys go get that. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Stay blessed.